Can Kieran from Kitakami beat Pokemon Scarlet? Today we'll be playing as Kieran from the Teal Mask to see if he's capable of conquering Paldea. But to make this journey a bit more challenging, we do have these rules that must be followed, such as no healing during battle. Now, our ultimate goal is going to be capturing all of Kieran's teammates and, of course, completing the entirety of the region. Now, first things first, let's choose how we should actually look. And I'm gonna be honest, I think this is the closest we can get to looking like Kieran, minus the secret evil hidden within. You know, well, I guess doesn't really matter. Let's start our journey. Now, because Kieran isn't from Paldea, we should really quickly just skip all the way through the intro sequence, because honestly, this isn't our mother, and for all I care, old man, your school is literally Growlithe shit compared to the fantastic and amazing Blueberry Academy of Unova. Hence why we'll skip through this and get straight to the moment we can finally get the call. Okay, we finally got the call, and that means home sweet home. Now, let's make sure we avoid the clone. He might be in the area and we don't want to disturb him, or else we might break the simulation. Either way, alright, time to catch our first Pokemon. But where do we actually start? Well, we have quite a few options, to be honest with you guys, but I think we'll go for the closest and earliest one we can actually find, and that's going to be our boy, Yanma. The reason I'm catching you, my little fella, is because of the flying typing as well as the other typing you have, which is bug type. And since we're going to be going up against Katie, who specifically uses bug type Pokemon, with that said, we should have way less struggle when we return to Paldea. And alright, are you ready to start our adventure together, Yanma? Because I know I am. We have a lot of trials and tribulations to deal with, and you know what? Home is nice, but I guess it's about time we return now. But before we do that, you guys should actually tell me in the comments, what is your favorite Pokemon from Kitakami? Mine has to be Ogerpon because it's just so cute, and because I'm Kieran and I really need Ogerpon. Back on Paldean grounds. But before we can actually battle Katie, we gotta make sure we have a flying type move on Yanma, so we won't really be able to do anything with just quick attack and tackle. Lucky for us though, Yanma does learn Air Cutter at level 14, which means once we do a little bit of leveling, we can finally take on Katie. Now that we are here, it's time to actually battle her. First thing she sends out is going to be her Nimble, and all we really have to do is hit it with a singular Air Cutter, which will take it down. And luckily against Tarantula, we're able to outspeed it again, as Yanma actually has a very high speed stat that helps us hit it faster than it can hit us. However, it does survive on 1 HP, so we're gonna have to go for a second Air Cutter to finish it off, leaving only really Teddiursa left up against us. Now, Katie actually terrestrializes it, which is kind of an advantage to us, because now it's going to be weaker to Air Cutter, so hit it one time, which does more than 60% of damage to its health. However, we'll still need to get a second time off with the Air Cutter, which we luckily do, and it works out perfectly as we outspeed and take down Teddiursa, which also means we got ourselves our first gym badge, meaning we're one step closer to defeating all of Paldea. Alright, our next challenge will be against the big crab Klawf. However, we will struggle against it if we don't get another partner added to our team. So, back to the jet we go as we make our way to Kitakami once again. Now that we are back in our home town, time to actually hunt around for another Pokemon. Now, one of the best and closest Pokemon to actually capture is going to be Applin. This little grass dragon type is going to bring an incredible amount of power to our team, and that grass typing is exactly what we need to defeat the giant crab back in Paldea. Now, the big crab boy is our next challenge, as we just mentioned. Now that our team is two great little Pokemon, that being our little Applin and our Yanma, we should just be able to take on Klawf. And I realize Applin doesn't actually have any grass type moves, so back to Kitakami we go to buy this syrup. Now, this is a apple or syrup apple, which is actually needed to evolve our little friend Applin into a Diplin, which is a brand new evolution, which give us access to more moves, such as Dragon Breath and Dragon Tail. So we make sure to add those to our Pokemon's moveset, and now we have a Diplin instead of an Applin. So, now that we go back to Klawf, we should be able to actually get in with the Dragon Breath. Diplin also has Sweet Syrup, which is an ability that lowers evasiveness, which is basically the ability for a Pokemon to avoid attacks. And I'll be honest with you guys, Klawf doesn't really stand much of a chance against our little sugary apple. Klawf tries to flee, but with the help of Arven, who just randomly shows up, we manage to finish him off. And hey, wait, calm down, Giant Dino, what are you doing? You seem to be wanting to eat our Herba Mystica thing. I don't really know what it is, but should I really give it to you, weirdo? Either way, we're back in Artisan City now, because it's right next to where Klawf is located, and I really hope nobody here wants to also get their hands on Ogerpon. Either way, after collecting quite a few Sunflora, which we need to do before we can battle the gym leader of this place, who goes by the name of Brassius, and he of course uses grass-type Pokemon. Alright, Brassius, why are you smiling at me like that? It's actually straight up kind of creepy, dude. Either way, the first thing Brassius is going to be using in this battle is going to be Petilil. Now, this thing we end up hitting with a Dragon Breath, and lucky for us, we get the early paralysis and half of Petalily's health taken down. Given that it worked, we go for a second Dragon Breath to end its short little life. Next from Brassius is Smoliv, an adorable cute little Pokemon, which actually I bought as a plushie, which you guys can see right here. I got it in Japan this year, which was really fun. With the help, though, of a few Dragon Breaths, this poor little fella also falls to our Dipplin, leaving only Sudowoodo, the fake tree Pokemon. Now, of course, Brassius decides to terrestrialize Sudowoodo into a grass type, which is, again, actually good for us, as by starting with the, I guess, Rock Throw and then sending a Dragon Breath down his way actually benefits us. But we don't stop there. Since it's a grass type, we also go for Infestation, which is a bug type move, which will basically infest the Sudowoodo for up to 4 to 5 turns, slowly chipping away at the Sudowoodo's health. Now, before we are actually able to choose Dragon Tail, Dipplin falls in battle, so we have to send in Yanma. This ends up being a blessing in disguise, as the Air Cutter from Yanma ends up being super effective and enough to give us the victory. And so we completed the second gym badge in our journey, and we've proven that Unova is just far superior to any of the other regions, including Paldea. Alright, champs, after doing a little bit of running around, we made it to the next location, and so far our journey has taken us past 2 gyms and 1 Titan Pokemon. But next going to be 2 very difficult challenges that await us. The first one of those will be Bombirdier, the big bird of the mountain. The issue with Bombirdier as a Titan has got to be the flying and dark typing, as both our Yanma and Dipplin might end up struggling against it. And oh boy, I really wasn't ready for you. I should return when I'm a bit stronger. I guess we should head back home to Kitakami, maybe. We just get on the Jumbo Jet back to Kitakami, and here, over at the Paradise Barrens, one of the locations in Kitakami, we hunt for another Pokemon, as we're looking for a Gligar. But just as I find a bunch of Gligar, I also spot a shiny Sandslash. Ah, dude, honestly, this was incredible and just randomly happened during this challenge. Unfortunately, can't use this in our playthrough, but I'll be leaving it in the PC for now, because I just thought it'd be fun to catch it. And, alright, we're here to actually capture a Gligar, so let's actually do that. Now, since there's loads of them around, I go for this fella right here, and we capture him, add him to our squad. Now that we have Gligar on our 3-man squad, I think we are ready to rumble back in Paldea. And, of course, back in Paldea, we decide, alright, we're now prepared to take on Bombirdier once again. So, I'm going to be starting off with Yanma using the Air Cutter. However, we do end up getting outsped here by the Sky Titan, so Dipplin has to be sent out instead to back up with the Dragon Breath. And we're able to actually do 1 Dragon Breath off before the Pluck destroys our poor Dipplin. But lucky for us, now that Gligar is part of our squad and team, we do go for the Poison Tail, which manages to actually poison the Titan and do just enough damage to it for us to get the victory after another 2 consecutive hits from the actual Poison Tail. And with Arven's help, we can take the Titan down finally, which took actually a while, but thankfully, because we caught the Gligar earlier, it was much easier to defeat this Titan. But okay, Big Dino, this is my sandwich. I can't give it to you all the time. Alright, well, that was actually pretty cool. Our squad is starting to look pretty solid. There are still a few Pokemon missing, but we'll capture those later in our journey. For now, though, we're going to instead be taking our first team star boss on. And oh, hey, you kind of look like that weird teacher from the academy. Do I know you? No, I'm simply a fellow student. Whatever you say, my guy. Time to raid this base. First up, I have to defeat you, this random kid out here with the Murkrow, which doesn't really stand much of a chance against the barrage of attacks from both Yanma and Dipplin. Okay, well, time to conquer this base. I don't know how difficult it will actually be after slamming through the grunts that we had to battle to take on Giacomo, but let's see how strong he is. Now, thing you need to know about him is that he uses Dark-type Pokemon, and he has also a giant Regrouping. Alright, Yanma, you're going to be going out first. I think we should go for a Detect, mostly to suss out what this Ponyard will do, which I quickly discover is Aerial Ace. So now that we know that and what's about to happen, let's us use Air Cutter, which unfortunately, though, doesn't seem to do a lot of damage, but does, I don't know, just get some damage done overall, though. And honestly, it's enough. Well, Yanma didn't last long, so I'll be sending out Gligar next. Now, I think Fury Cutter here is the smartest move, because if I lose Fury Cutter or use Fury Cutter multiple times in a row, it will cause Fury Cutter to actually do more damage each time I use it, which after about 3 hits actually takes down Ponyard. But then the second Starmobile actually comes out, and I'm a tad bit more worried, to be honest. We first get hit by the Metal Sound, which, to be honest with you guys, isn't really that big of a deal, but then the Snarl, which just takes down our health by quite a lot. Now, Gligar is basically gone, so I guess Dipplin has to come out and try its best. Luckily, our ability on Dipplin, which will actually make it harder for Regrouping to avoid our moves, is going to be really helpful. So we go for Infestation just to make sure we get some extra damage little by little, and Dragon Breath is our next move. And honestly, it didn't really help much. As you may notice, we pretty much try to go for the Bullet Seed, but unfortunately, we lose the battle. Okay, so that clearly didn't work. Well, it is what it is. Let's now not worry about too much that, but instead let's head back home to Kitakami to capture another Pokemon partner who could maybe help us out. Question is, who would that be? Well, I think I have spotted our target. Well, we're going to be capturing Nosepass. And just a random fact while we're talking about Nosepass, did you guys actually know that in Kitakami, all the Nosepass are actually facing towards north? This is because Nosepass is based on a compass, and a compass usually points north. And this Pokemon's nose is literally the pointer on a compass, which always points towards north, which is pretty crazy. Either way, alright, we are now back in Paldea, and I think it's time that we actually defeat Giacomo, or I don't think I'm going to be worthy of getting Ogerpon. Alright, Giacomo, I need this to gain Ogerpon's actual honor, so let's actually quickly and swiftly do this. This time around, we're going to have Gligar out first, so we can make sure that the Fury Cutter will actually do tons of damage consecutively, since this move does exactly that. Now, after 2 hits, we get really lucky when the Pawniard misses its Metal Claw, which means our Fury Cutter can hit and do more damage before we lose too much health. However, Regrouping comes out and it has Intimidate, which basically when triggered will just lower our general attack. That means that Gligar is able to survive 1 more hit and get 2 Fury Cutters off, and now the rest of our team pretty much won't be affected by the Intimidate, though the final Snarl from Regrouping takes out Oi. Thank you for the hard work, Gligar. Now I think it's time to actually use our Nosepass. Metal Sound from the Regrouping lowers our special defense, but our Rock Throw actually also misses, and for some reason I'm having the worst luck as all our Nosepasses moves just keep on missing. So Yanma, you're gonna have to come in instead, and I will believe in you. The second Wicked Talk, and now we can get a few Air Cutters off. With only Dipplin actually being left at this point of the squad, we can try to take it down using Infestation, but it's a bit scary since Dipplin is extremely slow compared to the Regrouping, which leads to another loss. And man, oh boy, fake mother, I can't do it with only 4 Pokemon. Time to pack up our stuff and head back to Kitakami. Alright, son. Now, okay, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like I've had to come back to Kitakami a few too many times because of this one challenge, but fear not, this time it will work. Right? Well, we're going to be having to get another Pokemon into the squad, which is going to work really well, and that Pokemon is going to be Seedot. So, time to capture it. We will find a small Seedot, and then level it up all the way to level 21, and before you know it, it will evolve into Nuzleaf. Now that we have you on our squad, mate, we gotta do it, man. 3rd time's the charm, right? Right? Let's go. Okay, so we're going to be starting off by first giving the Low Kick TM, which we randomly just found while running around, to Nuzleaf, as having a fighting type move will be super effective against any Dark and Steel type Pokemon. Now, this battle has been taking a long time to be actually finished, but like in any anime, I have returned stronger and more ready for you, Giacomo. Now, Nuzleaf will be going out first with the Low Kick, as I mentioned, since it's going to be super effective. We managed to hit Pawniard 1 time, which does tons of damage. However, Nuzleaf is extremely weak to the aerial aces. Gligar is also able to finish up the Pawniard afterwards, and since we used Fury Cutter 2 times in a row, our 3rd hit against Regrouping, which comes out next, will do incredible damage. I mean, it does a ton, and we even survived the Snarl, letting us do even more damage with another hit. Now, once Gligar is gone, Yanma is able to get a few Air Cutters in and do a decent chunk of damage as well before a Snarl sends Yanma to the Shadow Realm. Nosepass then is able to Rock Throw 3 times before it also falls in battle, leaving only 1 Pokemon in our defense, and that is Dipplin, to finally defeat the Regrouping after hitting it with a double Dragon Breath. And ladies and gentlemen, Giacomo is finally defeated with the help of our entire squad. We then are able to hear the sob story about Giacomo, which I really don't care, you wasted too much of my time, and there we go. That took way longer than expected, but at least we did it. And so, now that we've sorted out Giacomo, it's time to head over to Lavencia City. Here I think we'll find new challenges and adventures that await us. But first, it seems Nemona wants to battle us once more, which I am starting to get kind of annoyed at this worm, but it doesn't really matter. Seems Nemona wants to actually give us a pretty decent challenge. Guess we'll show her what we've got. Her team is consisting of 3 Pokemon. First up is going to be Rockruff, whose rock typing puts him at a disadvantage against our Nuzleaf, especially against the Razor Leaf, which ends up being a 1-hit KO. Against Palmy, though, we start with a low kick, but quickly get paralyzed by the Nuzzle. I make sure to use Payback afterwards, which more or less demolishes the poor little Palmy and sends it to the Shadow Realm, leaving us with just 1 Jojo freaking cat being Floragato left. I decide, okay, you know what? Let's go for low kick again. I mean, it can't really hurt, right? But before I can even do it, it already terrestrializes in our Floragato, making our situation a little bit more difficult. Luckily, since we share typing, Nuzleaf doesn't suffer much damage at all, and I think I'll be going for Payback here, as I'll be able to do double damage since we were just getting outsped. To finish up the battle, we send out Gligar with Fury Cutter, since Floragato should be weak to it, and the first hit does do a lot of damage. damage. But remember that this move builds up over time, so the more times we use it, the more it will do. So as long as Gligar survives, we should be able to defeat it, and with only 10 HP left, we managed to go for a quick attack to finish things up and defeat Nemona. Alright, Nemona, hand over your lunch money. I'm not joking around, just give me your cash. Now that we committed highway robbery, it's about time we battle the next gym leader of Paldea, that being the streamer gym leader, Iono. Now, first of all, I think you need to play a little bit of hide and seek. That wasn't really hard. I mean, I found the guy right away, and a few gym grunts later, it's time to battle her herself. Alright, so I'm not going to lie, she is kind of goofy, but it doesn't really matter. She focuses mainly on electric-type Pokemon, and her first one out is going to be Wattrel, which is both electric and flying, but lucky for us though, she is not going to stand much of a chance against Nosepass, because we do have the help of 2 rock throws that the poor little Wattrel doesn't stand much of a chance against. We also get 1 hit in with Nosepass against the Belly Bolt before I make the decision to switch in Dipplin instead. I kind of just did this because I wanted to save it for one of the last 2 Pokemon she has, which are going to be way harder. Now, our little issue is, I just got paralyzed by the Belly Bolt, and after several Dragon Breaths, we're able to eliminate it somehow, meaning she only has 2 Pokemon remaining. Second to last is going to be Luxio, but again, unfortunately, we suffer from paralysis and it destroys our poor Yanma, so we have to come out with a single quick attack before we get sparked by the power of Zeus himself. But fear not, as Nuzleaf does have payback, so I guess we can serve some payback? I mean, you get what I mean. Either way, we unfortunately have the giant Miss Magius, which is just too powerful in her place, which destroys us. Okay, we gotta figure something out. Clearly, this battle didn't go as planned, so let's fix it. So, I do think that to defeat Iono without doing too much drastic stuff, we just need to make sure we make a few better choices. But for just the sake of making sure our team is fully developed, I will be making our way back home to Kitakami once again. And there's only one Pokemon which I want right now, and that's going to be our boy Sentret, which now pretty much completes our current team. Of course, we make sure to level it up and evolve it into the most adorable of Furrets, which, I mean, look at his cute little face, dude. Look at all our friends, actually. I mean, too bad none of them are Ogerpon, but, you know, it is what it is. Once we return to Iono, this time the battle should be in our hands. I start by, first of all, adding Supersonic onto our Yanma. We do this so we can confuse whatever enemy we might encounter. This time against a Wattrel, we actually start with Yanma and Detect, and then we quick attack and try to set up Supersonic, but it actually misses, and we end up losing Yanma, which was a big mistake. So, Nosepass finishes things up, and we send in Furret against the Belly Bolt. This doesn't end up working, so Nuzleaf kind of has to come back in and get payback one more time. I never get tired of saying that. But unfortunately for us, though, the payback doesn't again do enough damage. Dipplin comes in, and we Dragon Tail to get rid of the Belly Bolt for now, because its ability pretty much boosts and charges it up with, you know, basically doing more damage with electric type moves. Instead, Luxio gets switched in, and we're able to defeat it with Dragon Breaths. And when Belly Bolt comes back out, we manage to switch out the Belly Bolt again before he can do any major damage. So Miss Magius in front of us already, and even gets terrestrialized. Now, I should have logically here gone for another Dragon Tail, but I didn't. It just basically destroys our Dipplin. But lucky for us, with multiple powered up Fury Cutters, we take down the Miss Magius, which was honestly incredible. And with only Belly Bolt remaining, and of course our Gligar being faster, plus our Fury Cutter being like 4 times effective now and stronger, we basically destroy with a singular outspeed hit, and as such, we've defeated Iono. And I was there so long, dude. When I walked out of the gym, the sunlight was basically hurting my eyes. Either way, though, it's time to take on the next challenge, which is going to be Mela, the leader of the Fire Squad. Given that she uses fire types, we probably should get a Pokemon which is strong enough to defeat her. So, time to get back to Kitakami, baby. Gotta love saying that. Either way, now that we're here, we're gonna be looking for a water type, and there is a specific one that we're looking for, and I think I see it, so say hello to Poliwhirl, everyone. We'll be switching in our poor little Furret, so he's gonna be going to the box for now. Sorry, fella. And we're going to be using Poliwhirl instead, as it will be way more effective. Alright, Paldea, I have returned, and it's time to take down Mela. Hey, it's you again, teacher guy. Do you happen to have documents on the player character? I need it for research. Now, before we can actually take Mela down, we need to take down the Team Star Grunt outside. Now, its Houndour falls after a single acrobatics and a quick pirate raid on the base later. Before you know it, we have been calling out Mela to save them all, because honestly they're pretty weak. Our newly acquired Poliwhirl is out first, and we use this thing as an opportunity to set up Rain Dance. But first we will be actually using Hypnosis against Torkoal to put it to sleep. We do this because the Torkoal has the ability Drought, so any of its fire type moves against our weaker teammates outside of Poliwhirl will be extremely detrimental. Now that we have Rain up, we can actually go for Liquidation, and it does a ton of damage. With the Clear Smog then from the Torkoal coming out after it wakes up, not really doing much. One liquidation later, and we did insane damage, so when the Shadow Mobile comes out, after the Torkoal, we actually managed to do some incredible damage with Liquidation once more, with Blazing Torque not really causing a lot of things to happen to our little Poliwhirl, as he's now swept through and defeated the Shedar Starmobile with just the help of those moves. We've also defeated Mela, who normally, I'm going to be honest with you guys, in these challenges, she's one of the most difficult people to defeat, just because, you know, the Shedar Starmobile is just annoying to deal with. But this time around, she was not that difficult, thanks to our Poliwhirl. Before we actually are able to go and take on Cascarafa, we first go and visit Orthworm. Now, this big fella that looks like a giant schlong, it's not that difficult to actually defeat. We're able to take him down with just a few fighting type moves, and eventually with the help of Arven, he's actually defeated. I'll be real, this was definitely one of the easiest ones throughout this whole playthrough, and there's not really much to say about Orthworm. He's just a giant worm. Alright, we made it back to Cascarafa City at this point because it was close by to the Dark type squad, and that must be the gym leader. I mean, he looks way too much like a One Piece character not to be, and he also has a mega unibrow. Well, I'm gonna be taking that money real quick, old man, and let me just buy you some of these weird ocean weeds. And once we've sorted that out, let's go back to the gym. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, this guy is even loved by the villagers. He truly is a One Piece character, huh? Okay, well, doesn't really matter. Time to duel. Battle. Veluza is out first, and we use Nuzleaf with Razor Leaf here to make sure we get this thing down. However, I forget that this Pokemon actually has Pluck, so we get plucked away. Next, we send out Gligar with Fury Cutter to kind of slowly build up some of that damage, which ends up working perfectly as Veluza goes down. However, next up though is going to be the Wugtrio, leaving this old big fella easily defeated by Dipplin, and now all that remains is Cramorant left to go. But the craziest thing happens. While we are battling Dipplin and it levels up, we actually learn Syrup Bomb, a new move introduced in the Teal Mask DLC, which basically lowers the enemy's speed stat every turn for 3 rounds. And this is honestly incredible because its base stat damage is about 60, so when the Syrup Bomb does incredible damage and basically lowers the speed of Cramorant, it's enough that we can actually outspeed it and evade one of its attack from the big crab, with a final Syrup Bomb coming through and finishing off another one of the gym badges. And honestly, this was the only reason we won this right off the bat, putting us one step closer to the one step closer to our treasure, our Paldean treasure. Alright, big guy. Now, that was a fantastic battle, and honestly, you should really shave those unibrows because they kind of look disgusting. Alright, well, we keep making our enemies falter, so where's our next challenge? Well, I think it's time we get over to the Poison Crew and Atticus. But first, we do need to defeat his crew. Alright, so one other thing we should do also before we take on Atticus himself will probably be to get our hands on Earthquake and a few items. So we go back to Cascarafa where we buy ourselves a Water Stone to evolve Poliwhirl into a Poliwrath, which is honestly really great because now we also have the added fighting typing as well, but we also do need the Earthquake. On top of that, we purchase a Thunderstone, which we'll be using to evolve our Nosepass into Probopass, which on top of that will now give us an extra typing, which is going to be great. We now also end up leaving mostly just needing to get Earthquake, but to do this, we just have to battle 5 different trainers in the Asado Desert, and after we've done that, we can now talk to the League Rep, he'll give us the TM, and we can also buy a Leaf Stone from the Delibird shop to evolve Nuzleaf into Shiftry. So our squad has almost fully evolved. Gligar is the only one we can't evolve, to be honest, in this playthrough, but the rest of them are ready to rumble. Now that we have actually Earthquake, we give it to Gligar and prepare ourselves for the ultimate battle. Atticus is ready with his Skuntank, so we get yoinked as our Probopass doesn't really stand a chance against it. But Gligar now does have the Earthquake, and it's able to sweep right past the Skuntank. And for Muck, the same thing happens. With Regrouping, an Earthquake is honestly enough to demolish it as well, leaving us only with the Navi Starmobile. I'm gonna be real, this battle went way faster than expected. We were able to sweep through most of them with just the help of Earthquake. We managed to do about 3 Earthquakes against the actual Starmobile, with Poliwrath pretty much finishing up the battle with a single liquidation, giving us a quick victory. And thanks to that Earthquake, we honestly were able to do everything. Without actually getting Gligar with the Earthquake, I don't think we would have stood a chance, meaning Atticus is defeated and we can move on with our journey. Whew, so we've defeated quite a few different people so far. Next, however, is a man that needs no introduction. First things first, though, we gotta make sure we get this sketchy recipe right, which quite literally sends all the customers to the Shadow Realm. I mean, where did they all go? And now it's time for him, the normal type gym leader, Larry. And some quick introduction is not really needed because this is Larry. This man has 3 Pokemon and they're all normal types. A typing which is honestly quite annoying to deal with unless you have fighting types on your squad. So we start up with a Fake Out against the Komala. This will let us deal slight damage and not let us be hit by the Yawn right away. With Foul Play being our next move, which does tons of damage. To make sure our boy Shiftry doesn't fall asleep, we switch in Poliwrath, whose Brick Break is able to demolish the little thing. However, keep in mind, the next Pokemon Pokemon is going to be the Dunsparce, and our friend Poliwrath over here is just falling asleep. So we'll just have to eat up a few Hyper Drills and hope our friend is going to awaken before then. And luckily he does. And when that happens, the Brick Break hits, and it hits like a truck, allowing us to chop the Dunsparce in half with only Staraptor remaining. And with the encouragement from the chef and the massive influx of the crowd of people, he gains the confidence to use his Terrestrialization to defeat us. With a single Aerial Ace, Poliwrath falls. Lucky for us though, we do still have Shiftry around, so we start with the Fake Out once again, just to make sure we get a slight amount of damage done to the Staraptor, with Foul Play being our second move right after surviving a hit from the Aerial Ace. Now that Shiftry is out for the counting, we still do have the Probopass ready to rumble. Now, sure, Staraptor does have the normal Terra type, but it should still take a decent amount of damage from the Discharge, which is why we make sure to use it 2 times in a row. And given that the Facade from Staraptor does basically no damage to our mustached friend over here, we're able to do a final Discharge to take it down, and that pretty much the 747 of Pokemon over here has been defeated. We managed to defeat Larry as well, netting us another gym badge within Paldea. And hey, don't feel bad, Larry. You can win them all, you know what I mean? And hey, you know what? Geeta and Nemona, please, just leave me alone. You two know you're like my final battles in this journey. I don't want to deal with you just now. Please just leave me alone. Give me another 20-30 minutes, I'll reach you. Alright, well, the obsession of battling for Nemona forces us into a battle with her. Lucky for me, though, I don't think she'll stand much of a chance against us. First up, her Lycanroc will be stopped with the first flinch from our Fake Out, and then a quick Leaf Blade leaves it with only 1 HP. Another Leaf Blade after that is enough to do the trick. Either way, Gumi is out next, and since it's a Dragon type, we do lack some things to fully take it on in battle. That is super effective, but with the help of course, a few Foul Plays and an Ancient Power being given to our friend Yanma, we are perfectly poised to take down her next 2 Pokemon. Palmo, with its electric fighting types, does pose a threat to our buddy Shiftry, so we try to kind of Fake Out, totally forgetting that Fake Out only works when you switch it in for the first round. So instead, we try to go for the payback after being hit by an Arm Thrust 3 times in a row. It does a lot of damage, but not enough to save Shiftry from this quick attack. And with Palmo already being low, we use our buddy Poliwrath with Brick Break. It is enough to finish off the job, leaving Nemona with only her best friend and new friend Meowscarada left to go. I make the decision to try to see if I can hit our Dynamic Punch, but before that, Nemona goes for the Terrestrialization, but it doesn't work out and the Poliwrath falls in battle. However, we have a Yanma with Bug Bite, and that should be able to do some damage too with this thing. So now that Meowscarada is low HP and Gligar is able to come in, we are able to eat 1 Flower Trick from her, and as long as Aerial Ace hits, which it always pretty much does, we're able to defeat her final Pokemon and take down Nemona a peg. She keeps interrupting our missions to become stronger, stronger, stronger. It's a little bit ridiculous, and hey, wouldn't you just look at that? Our friend Yanma is evolving into a Yanmega in the middle of this battle, giving us a upgraded teammate for the squad. Next up, we have to conquer the giant mountain in front of us. It's time to seek out Ryme and her ghost-type gym. Now that we've reached the Montenevera... Oh wait, is that you, Jack? I thought you were hiding behind the tree over in Kitakami. Huh. That's a bit weird. I guess not, then. Either way, though, it seems it's about time for us to battle Ryme, so let's make some noise. Now, this is a double battle, which is what Ryme specifically loves to do, and she uses ghost types, so I make sure that Shiftry and Yanmega are out first, since these two can wombo combo their Foul Play and Air Cutter to take these guys down. Now, since Mimikyu has Disguise, the ability, we make sure to use Air Cutter, which is chosen since it will basically hit both the Banette and hit the Mimikyu, which means we get maximum damage within the first turn, and also we get to basically remove the disguise. Lucky for us, Banette goes down to 1 Foul Play, and we even remove the disguise from Mimikyu. With another single Foul Play, the Houndstone that just came out is taken down to only 1 health point, as well as Mimikyu being finished off with an Air Cutter. Unfortunately though, Yanmega does not get, I guess, to stay in this process for much longer, so Probopass has to come out instead to help us against the toxicity, as this thing will be hard to actually take down without some Rock Blasts. After it terrestrializes, we manage to hit it with a Foul Play and finish it off with Probopass and the Rock Blast coming out again. And without much trouble, the final Pokemon Houndstone, which is already low to begin with, is also taken down and defeated, giving us another one of our gym badges, leaving us with only 2 more badges to actually go. Okay, now that we left the cold mountains of Montenegro, we are going to be going to somewhere where it's a little bit of the polar opposite. That's going to be the deserts of Asado, or Asado Desert. Specifically here, we're going to be on the hunt for a Titan, and I think I see him in the distance, and oh hey, Professor Sada, You're that weird professor no one likes, right? Why are you on my phone? I don't have time for you. Either way, it's time to battle the Quaking Earth Titan Great Tusk. Now, lucky for us, this thing is 2 times weak to grass-type moves, so after just 2 Syrup Bombs from Dipplin, we're able to defeat it. And hey, Arven, you always seem to be arriving when I've already done half the work myself. It seems a little sketchy. Either way, after Arven's help is given, the Great Tusk doesn't stand much of a challenge anymore, and we're basically combining our moves to take it down. And after it's defeated, we get another sandwich, which the dinosaur, of course, wants to eat. Right, after a little bit of jumping around, we make it to the Psychic-type gym. However, it does seem Nemona is here, awaiting us at the gym once again, and it feels like she's just going to force us into another battle. I'm getting really sick of this girl. Either way, though, we climb up at the top of the gym, and guess what? It's time to battle her. First up is Lycanroc. Here we just go for Liquidation, which actually misses 2 times because we got Sand Attack, which lowered our accuracy. Eventually, though, we do manage to hit it, and once we've done that, the Lycanroc just pretty much falls in 1 hit. However, her team still consists of a few more Pokemon, such as Palmod, which pretty much demolishes Poliwrath, meaning we need to send in Probopass with the Earth Power to put the Palmod back in its place, which we thought would happen. Unfortunately, Palmod uses Arm Thrust, which actually hits multiple times, so Probopass stands no chance, meaning that Dipplin has to instead enter the fold to try to finish this battle up with the Syrup Bomb, which again doesn't manage to hit before we first get paralyzed by a Thunder Wave. But once we finally hit, we're able to use a Syrup Bomb's speed lowering ability to slow down the Palmod quite a lot, causing it to use Quick Attack, which does way less damage than the actual Arm Thrust. With her next entry being Sligo, we decide to go for both Dragon Pulse, but unfortunately Sligo is faster, and unfortunately for us, that means Gligar has to come in instead. And we try our best here to get as much as possible done using Earthquake, which is actually pretty strong. But let's not forget that this thing has Dragon Pulse, so it manages to do a ton of damage to us still. But now, all that really remains is to defeat actually Meowscarada. That Nemona just happens to be able to terrestrialize, because, well, she just loves that gimmick. See, back in my day, kids, we didn't need these gimmicks. Either way, with Yanmega doing as much as it humanly can, it only remains with a tiny bit of health left, and we have Shiftry, which can achieve this victory. We survived the first flower trick that hits us, and meaning all we really need to do now is Foul Play to do enough damage. Lucky for us, though, we managed to do that. And alright then, Nemona, this isn't the last time we're going to battle, is it, right? I'm pretty sure you're going to be bothering me again, but holy mother of hell, can you just leave me for a little bit of time at least? Okay, one weird yoga session later, and we are ready for Tulip and her psychic types. We start by setting up a Rain Dance on Poliwrath so that our Liquidation can do more damage. However, I make the mistake of quite literally misclicking and using Rain Dance 2 times, which loses us the Poliwrath, so Shiftry has to come out against it again to pick up the slack by using Fake Out. First, however, Farigiraph's ability nullifies and stops the Fake Out, so we just have to hope that the crunches from the big giraffe don't do enough to defeat us, with Payback being our next move, and our final Foul Play takes the long neck boy down finally. I should also point out that we are currently highly underleveled for this gym, so if we manage to defeat it, we are doing an amazing job. Now with Gardevoir coming out next, we can only muster up a single Foul Play before the dazzling colors of the Dazzling Gleam take us down. So Gligar and his Aerial Ace come out next, but unfortunately though, they just do not enough damage, okay? They don't do enough, leading to us to having to use the Earthquake to guarantee that the Gardevoir falls in battle. Espathra is one of the newer Pokemon, and since it outspeeds Gligar, we can't really do much against it. However, Yanmega is still alive, and since this is a 2 times weakness to Bug-type moves, we should be able to make sure that we can eat a Psychic-type move to the face before using the Bug Bite to do about half the health in damage, and then using Detect to avoid the next Psychic, which comes our way. But again, same thing happens. We're honestly able to just more or less just delay the inevitable, as eventually we fall to the Espathra Psychic. With only Probopass and Dipplin remaining in our squad, I make sure to send Probopass out next with Earth Power, but that barely does anything. So we try to Rock Blast instead, and this time around, we are able to do some actual damage. We did suffer tons of damage to begin with, but it was actually worth it as we're able to take it down. With only 1 more Pokemon remaining, this case being only 1 Pokemon, Florges, on Tulip's side, we're able to try to take it down with 2 of our remaining Pokemon. Of course, Probopass has seen better days, but she makes sure to terrestrialize our Florges, but we managed to get at least just one single Earth Power off before our friend Probo Mustache Man falls into combat. Alright, this is all in your hands. I mean, tail, syrup? How do I even refer to it? Appendages of a Dipplin. Either way, only our Syrupy Apple remains. Unfortunately for us though, this Florges has Moonblast, and it's much faster than our little apple, and it doesn't stand much of a chance. So, we're going to have to return with vengeance to complete this gym badge. One training montage later, and our team is now ready to actually take on the gym again, as we've leveled up quite a decent amount to make sure we match her levels. And once that is done, okay, well, it's about time we do this. This time though, Dipplin will go out first. This is because the Farigiraf doesn't have any fairy type moves to cause us major damage. Starting things off with a Syrup Bomb, which doesn't do a lot or enough, to be honest, that we can actually keep hitting the Farigiraf, as we're able to just slow it down and able to defeat it before we can take our Dipplin down with Zen Headbutts. However, against Gardevoir, our speed is not there, so we have to send out Yanmega after Dipplin falls. We start with Ancient Power to hopefully get the stat boost that you can get from using Ancient Power. However, that doesn't actually happen, so we go for Air Cutter next, which does a ton of damage, but Yanmega also gets defeated. This battle is honestly becoming more rough than I thought. So let's sacrifice Poliwrath against the Gardevoir to at least get some damage done using Liquidation. And honestly, this works out actually really well, as I kind of end up defeating the Gardevoir in the process. But we can't celebrate yet. Keep in mind, she still has 2 more Pokemon, both of which will outspeed us and defeat Poliwrath first and foremost. So Gligar has to come in with our newly acquired Exezer. It's a move we gave to him, which does a crazy amount of damage. Unfortunately, though, our little Flying Scorpion doesn't have much or really enough strength to defeat the Espathra or to tank its Psychic. So instead, Shiftry has to come out with the Foul Play to defeat it. Next, of course, is Florges, the final Pokemon. Now, lucky for us, since she terrestrializes into a Psychic type, she will actually be, will be just more effective against her than we would have been if she wasn't terrestrialized. So Foul Play does enough damage that we can then switch in Probopass, which is the only Pokemon left, and try to go for a Stone Edge, hoping it will hit, but it misses. And oh boy, this is getting dangerous, so let's try another one. Another Moonblast damages us and does a ton of damage, and once again, we missed the Stone Edge. Guys, 3rd time's the charm. We've lost half our HP, but we finally managed to hit Stone Edge, and with only 2 more Earth Powers later, after surviving more of these Moonblasts, we finally take it down and defeat the Florges, giving us our second to last gym badge from Tulip. And alright, you pink-lipped monster, give me my badge. Whew, okay, away from the flatlands and rolling hills and deserts of Asado, we've made it back up to the cold mountains of Paldea. One snowboarding dino session later, and it's time for Grusha. With Grusha, we will be needing to face off a squad filled to the brim with ice types, so we gotta make sure that Poliwrath with its fighting typing is out first because of effectiveness. Against the Frostmoth, we use 2 Brick Breaks 2 times, which is enough to defeat the Frostmoth, and same goes for the poor Beartick. Only 2 hits are needed here as well to take it down, and to be honest, so far it's going really well. But next up is Titan. This time Poliwrath manages to eat 1 hit before it actually falls. Yanmega comes out instead, and it tries its best to try to defeat the Titan, which means it manages to actually do as the Ancient Power hits and even boosts all our stats. So going into the final battle against Altaria, we are basically lucky and beyond powerful, as Yanmega has the stat boost and already took down Titan, and it's just really in a good place. So in terms of damage, we're able to defeat Grusha without too much trouble, without suffering more than a singular Pokemon loss, meaning we now have gotten every single regular gym badge. I mean, Altaria didn't really stand much of a chance, and yes, I get it, Nemona, I have all the badges, so you want me to battle the Elite Four, but you will have to just wait a little bit longer before our fated battle. Okay then, off to the fairy type squad we go. All the villains must be stopped. First though, this old man is trying to protect the worm hiding inside of the base. I know you're inside of there, you worm! Alright then, Ortega, your grandpa has been defeated. It's time for you to battle me. And then another thing we did was to actually put Gligar out first, and we gave him Sword Stance and Gunk Shot. Gunk Shot because, of course, fairy types are weak to poison and steel type moves, but also Sword Stance to make sure that our Gunk Shot, which is actually a physical move, which I never really knew, it will be able to do more damage that way. Either way, now that we go in, we start off by first of all setting up a Sword Dance, and then we go for the Gunk Shot against Azumarill. This manages to actually take it down. For Wigglytuff, we're able to one-hit it with a Gunk Shot as well, meaning there's only 2 Pokemon remaining, with Dashboon being the first weak Gunk Shot, and it will survive and basically end up using a single player off against us. The Rooshbach Starmobile, though, loses almost 49% of its health until our little Gligar finally falls in battle. With Probopass ready to rumble with Stone Edge, we're able to hit it multiple times until the spin out finally catches up to the Probopass as well. So Mustache Boy is gone, but don't worry, we do have a few other Pokemon left. with only a little bit of HP on this Starmobile, we go in for Yanmega, and with a single Ancient Power later, we are able to defeat it, and our second to last Team Star leader is now also gone. After a quick conversation about responsibility and stuff, we should be able to make our way to the final 2 challenges that await us before the Elite Four. But I do actually want to do something else first, which is to go back to our region of Kitakami, baby, because we gotta capture another teammate. You don't think we're done with teammates? Nah, we still need to capture Cramorant back in Kitakami. So a quick plane ride over there, and we made it over to this location. Now, Cramorant, we need to look around for it in this specific zone, which is around the Kitakami woods. And right over in the water, very quickly, as soon as we go here, we find this beautiful bird himself, Cramorant. An Ultra Ball later, and we've completed capturing every single Pokemon owned by Kieran so far from the Teal Mask. Alright, back in Paldea, it's time for us to take on the final Titan, the False Dragon Titan. This one is lurking next to this tiny piece of sushi in the Castleroy Lake, which is just weird, which takes him down. And hey, Arven, you here to witness my epic powers? I hope I'm really strong enough to actually capture Ogerpon. Alright, battle time. Dondozo, let's get you leaf-bladed down. And oh wait, that's the sushi in front of us, isn't it? Well, it doesn't really matter. We Sucker Punch and Leaf Blade the sushi, and unlucky for Shiftry, it's not enough, so Gligar has to finish things up with an X-Scissor, and that means we've completed that mission too. Well done, Arven, and now give me that sandwich. I could use it to entice Ogerpon to join my side. Right? Right? I can do that, right? I can do that. Alright, the only thing that remains before the endgame is to defeat Eri. You know, the creepy lady that scares everyone? Yup. Well, she's the one. We are going to be having to head over to defeat her. And wait, who are you? Why is your name Carmen? Wait, are you my sister in disguise? Huh, never mind. My sister wouldn't be that weak of a battler. Clearly, you're simply a fake. So, alright boys, it's time to battle Eri. Now we start by making Toxicroak's life difficult using Yanmega and Air Cutter. This is because flying type moves are 2 times effective against it, which helps us take it down relatively fast. However, next is Passimian. With the good graces of the Pokemon Lords though, we do hit our Air Cutter and Passimian misses its move, which means that we can outspeed with another Air Cutter and take it down. So Yanmega so far has done a great job, leaving our friend Yanmega on just enough health to at least do a tiny bit of damage against the Annihilate. And thanks to us outspeeding, eventually though, the Fire Punch does burn our Yanmega to a crisp, and we send out Dipplin with the Syrup Bomb, since this will lower Annihilate's speed, allowing us to survive the first Ice Punch and then outspeed basically this whole Pokemon before it can hit us the second time around using Syrup Bomb, which of course lowers its speed again. And all that really remains of the base team is basically his Lucario at this point. But he will, of course, use the outspeed against us, in this case with Dipplin falling. Overall, having just really bad speed doesn't really help this Pokemon. So we send out Poliwrath instead, hoping that we can get our, just Pokemon to survive the Aura Sphere and maybe hit the Dynamic Punch. Now, we don't hit, which is bad, but we try to go for it again once more, and we miss again with our third chance. And oh my lord, our final chance, we actually managed to finally hit and defeat the Lucario, but I'm gonna be real, we wasted too many chances. This was a big blow to our squad, since the fighting type of Poliwrath is super good against the Calf Starmobile, which means there's no way we can survive the spin out which comes next. But at least we still have Gligar, so we start by using Sword Stance to increase our damage. And lucky or unlucky enough, Eri goes for Shifting Gears, which increases its stats, so we use this as a moment to Sword Stance one more time, and it also helps us increase our damage. And basically what ends up happening next is that we go for the Earthquake to take down almost half of the health of the Starmobile. And with the spin out not doing a lot of damage, we actually go for pretty much just another hit. We try to do as much as we can. With only a tiny bit of health left on her side for another Shifting Gear, the Starmobile survives another hit, but it doesn't really matter anymore because we actually outspeed, and a final Earthquake is enough to finish this battle up and finally give us a victory unlike any other, as we now have our final main story battle completed as Kieran. And man, I love playing as Kieran. Our team is actually really freaking cool, and Eri just seems to be kind of sad. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be celebrating, but either way, let's move on. Okay, it seems we finally completed the main story elements, so after a very aggressive handshake from Eri, it's time to head over to the Elite Four battle. And these battles are about to go crazy, as we have to face off against the Elite Four members, and of course the champion, all awaiting us using our current squad. And after quite an uneventful quiz, it's time to take on our first Elite Four member, I guess, which is going to be the ground-type user Rika, who of course is going to be sending out a Wish Cast, so we go in with Dipplin, starting off with a Syrup Bomb, and same goes for the poor Donphan. We just take both of them down with a Syrup Bomb and it is amazing. Neither of them saw it coming. However, Rika also has a Cramorant, who of course has fire typing on it, but hopefully we can outspeed it with a Syrup Bomb to at least cause a little bit of damage, which is what we end up doing. And since the Cramorant went for the yawn, we are able to survive to even be able to use a Dragon Pulse and take the Cramorant to the edge of its breaking point and health. But unfortunately, though, our sleep basically spells the doom by, pretty much having our little Dipplin be graced by Arceus to avoid the next attack, giving us just enough edge to hit another Dragon Pulse and defeat the Cramorant. So basically what happens here is we end up avoiding all the attacks from it while we are asleep and still manage to take it down. With the next Pokemon, though, being Dugtrio, we are finally able to lose our little buddy Dipplin, which is unfortunate, but Shiftry comes out instead with the Leaf Blade. Still, so we are able to take down the Dugtrio, and also it ends up using Sandstorm, which lets us keep Shiftry at full health, more or less, because we do have, leftovers on it, so we get a little bit of HP back each time anyways. Clodsire is the last Pokemon with its chunky face, and this thing is the only thing left, so she terrestrializes it, and we Leaf Blade it twice, with the Earthquake from Clodsire being nothing more than just a flesh wound, and as such, we've defeated and completed the first Elite Four battle. Speaking of battles, by the way, seems like this little human is our next challenge. It's against Poppy, the Elite Four, who's literally a toddler that honestly is just bizarre. Now, since Poppy uses Steel types, we set up Poliwrath up first, and luckily for me, we're able to hit the giant elephant with 2 Brick Breaks. As for Corviknight, I quickly noticed that our first Brick Break isn't really doing a lot of damage, so let's just risk it and go for the Dynamic Punch. However, I end up misclicking on the Brick Break again, and we lose our only fighting type, which is a problem, but oh well, we'll send Gligar in next, and we are going to be getting Brave Birded here by Corviknight, but thankfully, we did set up a Swords Dance prior, so when we get Brave Birded the second time, our little Gligar survives it, and now we're able to do a tiny bit of damage and have still some extra strength, so we're able to do tiny amounts of damage to also the Magnezone. Unfortunately, though, of course, the Gligar doesn't survive, so Shiftry has to come in with a low kick. Originally, we added TM Focus Blast, but I decided to switch that move out because it's got lower accuracy and less of a chance of hitting, and I thought it was worth just to have low kick, which does do a decent amount of damage, and especially against Magnezone. However, it does try to set up Reflect, which will make all our physical moves weaker. However, we do still manage to take it down with another low kick. Alrighty then, well, we've got Bronzong in here next. We instead go for Sucker Punch rather than Low Kick because it will just do a lot more damage due to the Psychic typing on Bronzong and the fact that Psychic types are weak to, just Dark type moves, with this being perfect as we end up taking it down. With only really Tinkaton remaining, we are a bit fearful of it. This thing is genuinely dangerous and it has a giant hammer. We do seem to be outspeeding, so I'll be going for a low kick in the beginning here, which we barely are able to do enough damage with and barely able to survive with. Unfortunately, though, Shiftry can't handle the massive hammer, and instead Dipplin, with its Syrup Bomb, comes out to finish up this battle, and it manages to live through 1 Gigaton hammer and hits the final hit with Syrup Bomb to win the challenge. Okay, sweet mother of God, now that we defeated her, he's here. I thought we were done with him, but Larry, oh Larry. Last time we battled him, he was using normal types, and that was already a bit of a trouble, but this time, though, he's got himself flying types. So I decided to start things up with Dipplin using Pounce and then Dragon Tail. Now, the reason I did this was because Pounce was going to lower his speed, and this was mostly just so we can make sure that Dragon Tail would hit him afterwards. We do this to switch in his Staraptor instead of the Tropius. With Dipplin not standing much of a chance against this giant bird anymore, Shiftry has to come out instead with the Sucker Punch, as it's able to help us to try to take down the Staraptor. But again, it's not enough. However, we get super lucky, which is basically like really good because now the Staraptor is weaker and it falls to the Yanmega's Ancient Power, which boosts all of our stats. Yes, by using Ancient Power now, we've actually gotten lucky and our Ancient Power has boosted all the stats on our boy, Yanmega, which means that when Altaria comes out, we're able to outspeed and do some crazy amounts of damage with basically the Ice Beam doesn't really do anything towards us when it hits us. Against us again, allowing us for the Ancient Power to hit one more time and all of our stats get boosted for the second time in a row because we were able to defeat a Pokemon again using Ancient Power. So the only thing that remains now is Oricorio, Flamigo, and Tropius, with Oricorio falling to a singular Ancient Power and our stats being already boosted, and Tropius being hit with an Air Cutter that is just enough to defeat it. That giant palm tree doesn't stand much of a chance. So now all that remains is to try to take down the big pink bird. He makes sure to, of course, terrestrialize it, and we have a choice of either using our final Ancient Power or Air Cutter to do this. Eventually, the decision is made. I'll be using Ancient Power. and it does amazing. The damage is huge, and the last thing Yanmega does is to fall to a Brave Bird, which thanks to the damage that was already taken from our previous move, and the fact that Brave Bird actually damages the Pokemon that uses it, it actually ends up defeating itself. The Flamigo falls to its own Brave Bird, meaning we've somehow defeated Larry. And I'm not going to lie, this battle was really hard to figure out and plan for, but eventually, though, we managed to get it. All right, there's only one man left, and it's going to be Hassel. Are you ready to get whooped? Because I know you are. Alright, let's do this. Now, first up is going to be Noivern, and due to its flying dragon typing, we do make sure that Mustache Boy is out first, with Power Gem doing tons of damage. We also even survive the Super Fangs and are able to defeat it with a second Power Gem. With Dragalge coming out next, though, this thing manages to somehow eat up, like, one of our Power Gems, and lucky for us, it misses its Hydro Pump, so we get to go for Discharge, hoping we get the Paralysis, which actually does happen. But that isn't enough, though, to take it down, so we go for Power Gem again. Paralysis helps us out because it basically stops this thing and allows us to keep spamming Power Gem until the Dragalge falls in battle. So, our long-nosed Compass has done a good job. And at this point, I feel like Probopass has done enough work already. So when Haxorus comes out and we manage to survive already an Iron Head, which was incredible, we can even try to paralyze it, which doesn't actually happen, and eventually our boy falls. But hey, taking down 2 out of 5 Pokemon is honestly a great job by our fella. He did a good job. Next, we send in Dipplin, and we survive a Dragon Claw and manage to hit it with a Syrup Bomb to slow it down. The reason we did this was to make sure that we can then make sure that it's slower than us and enough that we can use Dragon Pulse to defeat the Haxorus. And hey, guess what? It actually works. Flapple, though, our mortal enemy of all Dipplins, is here. And lucky for me, it seems that the Dragon Rush from Flapple misses, which is perfect, which, oh boy, it pretty much means we can defeat all of them, and we can take down this Flapple with the help of Dipplin. The only thing that remains now is Baxcalibur, and this thing is, of course, got 2 typings that are both super effective against Dipplin. That, of course, being Dragon as well as, of course, Ice type. And we do also get Outsped, which is really just not fun. On top of that, this thing is also Terrestrialized and a higher level than us, but again, fear not. Icicle Crash takes down Dipplin, but we have a team of 4 Pokemon left, which, if we just combine their powers, should be able to defeat the Excalibur. First is Poliwrath with a Close Combat, but before we can actually use the Close Combat, we get hit with a Glaive Rush, and it does a ton of damage, enough to actually take down our boy almost, but it doesn't really matter, because we are still able to get a Brick Break, you know, pretty much onto him. So Shiftry has to then come in, because the reason for using him here in this case is that we have Sucker Punch, a move that will always have priority as long as the enemy is using a move or planning to use a move that's an attacking one. So this allows us to hit first and finish up Excalibur, which in turn also finishes our Elite Four battles. And wow, now that that is over, I just need to take down the champion, which is going to be a task in its own. Hey, Geeta, I must ask, have you ever thought about perhaps adding some railings around the battle arena? I mean, this location seems to be a bit of a health and safety risk. So, battle time it is. First up is going to be Espathra, which is a full-on Psychic-type Pokemon, so we'll begin with a Foul Play just to get as much damage done as we humanly possibly can, which is exactly what happens. We're able to kick off with tons of damage done, and since Espathra outspeeds us, we make sure to go for Sucker Punch next, which we do specifically to outspeed and hit the Espathra first. Now that we've done that, we've taken it down, but there's still a ton of Pokemon left to defeat. One of the first ones is Gogoat, which is coming out next, and in this case, we're able to once again get a Foul Play off to hit it, and it survives on 18 HP, which is extremely low, which is fine, since we can now at least get some more damage done with Shiftry as it takes a final rest. So, instead of using the same tactic as before, since Gogoat is low on HP, we're instead going to be going in with Yanmega and Ancient Power. And from all of our stats being boosted, we are ready, ladies and gentlemen, which means Gogoat is gone. Which means also we are now stronger and faster and more tanky going into the battle against King Gambit. But that doesn't really matter, because this thing is way, way, way stronger than our buddy, and Bug Buzz doesn't really do much. Instead, we lose our boy to 1 hit. However, there is a 4 times weakness against fighting-type moves, which King Gambit actually has. So we end its reign when we switch in Poliwrath, and with only 1 Brick Break, it's defeated. But there is still Veluza, and here we make sure to switch in Dipplin instead, because we don't want to keep Poliwrath out, since we'd probably lose him if he stayed in, given his typing. And after barely surviving an Ice Fang from this thing, we Syrup Bomb it, which is perfect, okay? This is exactly what happened in Cascarafa before. Once the Syrup Bomb hits, it does so much damage and even lowers its speed to such an extent that we are able to hit a second time around and defeat it. With Avala coming in next, we tried to use Syrup Bomb again, which works, but Avalanche is just our downfall as we lose Dipplin. Thankfully, though, we did save Poliwrath. Remember, we switched him out. We did this specifically for this reason. For earlier, we kept him, and now when he comes out, the Brick Break is enough to defeat Avalugg in 2 hits, leaving only 1 Pokemon on Champion Geeta's squad. That being Glimmora, who I wonder, is this Pokemon from Area 0? And if so, is it in any way related to the Pokemon which affected the Kitakami Loyal 3 perhaps? I wonder. Either way, after terrestrializing the Glimmora, we try to hit Geeta's final Pokemon with close combat after managing to survive the Dazzling Gleam. And guess what? It's a 1-hit KO, shattering Geeta's last Pokemon and shattering her dreams of stopping us from becoming champion. Ah yes, I am the champion of Paldea, but I do feel like I still need to do a few more things. Alright, I need to get Ogerpon, right? Okay, doesn't really matter. Oh yeah, Nemona, I guess you still want to have our ultimate final fated battle, right? Yep. Okay, cool, we'll do that later. So we haven't really seen Arven in a while, but it's about time we head over to the lighthouse. Oh hey Arven, you looking for your mom? She seems to be on the computer screen. Is it just me or does she seem kind of robotic? Oh well, none of my problem, right? Want to fight? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, since the first Pokemon he's going to be sending out is going to be the Fat Greedent, we actually come out swinging right off the bat with Gligar setting up Swords Dances, and we do this just to make sure that our Earthquake is going to do enough damage to 1-hit KO, which is exactly what it does. Then, though, the Cloyster comes out, and we actually suffer from the Icicle Sphere, which is really, really strong, so we end up having to switch in Poliwrath instead. And my broski, you have Brick Break to defeat this poor weirdo, and this poor Innuendo Pokemon, if you guys know what I mean. Either way, after we take him down, Toedscruel misses Power Whip, which allows us to hit it with a close combat, and the second time around, we avoid Power Whip again, but we're able to actually take out the Toedscruel. So now we have to deal with Scovillain, which is going to outspeed Poliwrath, but again, it doesn't really matter. We do have a few other Pokemon. We Bug Buzz the Scovillain using Yanmega, and this is enough to at least lower its HP a little bit, so Probopass can come in with Power Gem and finish things up. But Garganacl still exists, and honestly, this thing isn't really the greatest, so Dipplin and Shiftry are able to come through and help out. With Syrup Bomb, we manage to outspeed and take down Garganacl, which turns into a pile of salt, and finally, we have the Pokemon that Arven has ran around trying to keep alive, being Mabustev. So we Syrup Bomb it to make sure its speed is lowered, and lucky for us, Play Rough misses and our speed is higher, but we also somehow managed to miss the Syrup Bomb right afterwards, and it's just bloody weird, man. This battle is so weird. However, due to the speed being lowered, basically the effect of Syrup Bomb has come in clutch here. So when Shiftry comes out with the low kick first, we managed to defeat Arven. So really, the Syrup Bomb was enough to lower the speed, and then of course the low kick to finish it off. And alright, that means we've completed our journey with Arven. For now, we still have some stuff left to do with him. The Naranja Academy, where our fight with Clavell awaits. Now, this man has some interesting Pokemon to say the least. Oranguru is going to be his first teammate. We go for a foul play here, making sure that we keep using it until Oranguru is taken down. However, we're now also put to sleep due to the yawn that he ended up using. With the Bombasnow coming out, it actually sets up Aurora Whale, which is just going to give it loads of defense for its squad, and then it hits us with a Wood Hammer. But that doesn't really do a lot of damage, which also allows us to keep some of our health until Shiftry finally awakens. We're able to go for a low kick. That again is a little bit too weak, but at least Shiftry tried to do the best it could before the blizzard came through. Poliwrath comes out next with Brick Break, so we send him in, and we stop the Abomasnow from using any more moves and take it down. Amoonguss, the Sus Mushroom, is up next, and for the sake of doing as much damage as we can, we use Close Combat. But instead of doing really anything, we instead get demolished by a Giga Drain from Amoonguss. I think switching out and saving Poliwrath for Houndoom might be the smartest move here, so that's exactly what we do. Yanmega instead comes in with the Bug Buzz, being incredibly powerful, and basically just living through a singular Hex. From this thing, we're able to use Bug Buzz the second time around and defeat the Among Us Pokemon. Since Houndoom is out next, this thing has the type advantage, but we decide to go for Ancient Power anyways, which doesn't really stand much of a chance against Flamethrower from the Houndoom. With Poliwrath still being paralyzed, but alive, we go in, and the Houndoom has Thunderfang, so Poliwrath unfortunately fails to really do anything and ends up dying anyways. So we have to rely on Probopass to come in with Power Gem, which actually is pretty good, and we're able to defeat the Houndoom, leaving our buddy Clavell over here with only 2 more Pokemon to go. Poltergeist is out first, and here it's mostly just spamming attacks, okay? We just spam Discharge against it, and eventually, because both of us are bulky, we manage to defeat each other. We take down the Poltergeist. Now, though, we have Quaquaval. This Pokemon is got an advantage on us, so Probopass doesn't really stand much of a chance. Instead, Dipplin has to come in, and we're able to, incredibly enough, our Dipplin Syrup Bomb is so helpful with the speed slowdown that it gives us just enough room and space, like just enough, to outspeed and take this thing down with a second hit, because of course its water typing means it's weak against any grass type moves, and Syrup Bomb is a very strong grass type move, meaning we've defeated Clavell and now just gotten him into trouble with Miss Ryme's sister, one of the teachers at the academy, it seems like. After entering the school and going to the schoolyard, I think it's time we battle the Eevee Queen herself. I don't know about you all, but I think the King of Kitakami should be able to win this battle easily, right? Well, here we go. Her first Pokemon is Umbreon, which means that its dark typing will be weak against pretty much anything that is fighting type related. So we switch in Poliwrath, and then we get hit with the Baby Doll Eyes, which lower our attack, but not enough to actually cause much of a problem, as our second Brick Break defeats it. When Jolteon comes in, though, it also uses Baby Doll Eyes and just allows us to get a free hit in before I decide, okay, let's save our boy here and make sure Probopass comes out instead. And that's exactly what we do. We handle basically the electrifying moves from Jolteon with another Baby Doll Eyes being used, and our Power Gem doesn't really end up being strong enough to take it down. So we risk it for the biscuit and go for Stone Edge. However, we get paralyzed before we can do that. And lucky for us, though, the Thunder from Jolteon also keeps missing, allowing for our Stone Edge to eventually hit, with a Power Gem spelling the doom for Jolteon when it finally also hits at the end. Now, of course, Penny sends out Vaporeon against us, and, well, I mean, this thing is going to be super effective against Probopass, so of course we're going to lose him. It does, though, miss the Hydro Pump, allowing for us to do a quick discharge before our friend Mustachio over here is sent panicking away. With Vaporeon, we use then Leaf Blade with our Shiftry that comes in, which leads to us having to deal with Leafeon next that is getting switched in. And in this case, we go for X-Scissor, and it destroys this thing. So when Yanmega comes in, our Air Cutter is all that's needed to get the Leafeon demolished, and it disappears into the void. And don't forget, this is Penny, which means she has all the evolutions, including Flareon. And that thing can Flare Blitz our poor Yanmega. So now that he's gone, Poliwrath comes in, and it saves the honor of Yanmega by using Liquidation. So now that, of course, also the Flareon's been defeated, there's only one Pokemon left, and that is Sylveon. It is here, and we go for close combat as our Poliwrath gets literally obliterated by Moonblast. Like, it just got totally destroyed. So we send in Dipplin, which of course is going to be extremely weak against Sylveon, given its typing. I mean, this thing is literally a fairy type against a poor little dragon apple, but it doesn't really matter because we use this as an opportunity to try to see if we can get the Syrup Bomb off, and this big fella basically allows us to slow down this thing enough that Gligar can come in with the Gunk Shot against the Sylveon, which is just enough after 2 hits and 1 Moonblast later to take it down. And hey, Penny, you tried your best, but unfortunately, my love for Ogerpon is much stronger than your love for Team Star. So, now that we've defeated Penny and we've completed even that part of the journey, there's only really one battle before the ultimate battle, and this one's going to be against Nemona. And hey, I still need to get Ogerpon, so Nemona, this needs to be the time where we settle our score for the final time. So, let's do this. We kick things off by going right in and taking down the Lycanroc with a Leaf Blade, which takes it down, and because Lycanroc didn't actually manage to use Stealth Rocks because it went for a different move, we actually don't have to deal with Stealth Rocks for the rest of this battle, because this is usually what Nemona does. She sets it up at the beginning. As for Pawmot, that comes out next, and it uses Close Combat to defeat the Shiftry, which is actually really good because its defense will be lowered. So yes, we lose Shiftry, but now this thing is low enough in HP that when Gligar has to come in against Pawmot to defeat it with an Earthquake, we do end up losing a little bit of health in the process, but it doesn't matter. So, what's next? Well, it's going to be Goodra. However, we do also get a little bit antsy here, and we manage to hit it with 1 Earthquake before Probopass has to instead come in and spam a bunch of Dazzling Gleams, which in particular we specifically gave to Probopass for this exact Pokemon in this battle. After doing all of that and somehow surviving, you know what, it seems like we've worked hard enough that we can manage to take down the rest of our squad. So, Orthworm comes out, and here we still have Probopass out, but he finally falls after being hit with an Iron Tail. So, Poliwrath has to come in instead with its close combat to take down Orthworm, and when Dunsparce comes out, we also take it down with a close combat as well, since both of these Pokemon are going to be extremely weak against fighting-type moves. However, as you may notice, we haven't really won yet here. There's still Meowscarada to go, and this thing is probably going to outspeed us and do a ton of damage, which is exactly what it does. After terrestrializing and using just right away a Flower Trick, it takes down Poliwrath, so we have to switch in Dipplin and go for the super sweet syrup, which is, honestly, this thing is so helpful because it just helps us basically lower the ability of this Pokemon to evade any of our moves. And after basically this happens, we're able to go for the Syrup Bomb and slow down Meowscarada's speed. Now, we specifically did this to slow it down. After doing that one time and taking one of its hits, we can then go for Dragon Pulse and at least make it weak enough to slow enough to make sure that we can again hit a second Dragon Pulse, and the Meowscarada the second time around doesn't really stand much of a chance, and our final victory against Nemona has finally happened. This means our rival has been defeated, and I have proven that Kitakami is superior. Then we run around in Area 0 with the help of our little friends as we finally reach and take on the robot that is AI Sada. Now, the thing with her is she first has her Slitherwing, which we air cut her easily. Next up, though, we do get destroyed by the Fluttermane, so we have to switch in our boy, which is going to be Shiftry. We go for the Foul Play and then a Sucker Punch just to make sure we take as little damage as we possibly can. However, she also has the Play Rough on her Screamtail, which, by the way, Screamtail, just a really cool little Pokemon, though I do prefer its real original version, not the Paradox. Nonetheless, though, with the Gunk Shot from Gligar, we're able to take it down after suffering from one Ice Punch first, and then Gligar's also able to do an Earthquake against Sandy Shock before it eventually gets defeated as well. So, the Syrup Bomb from our boy Dipplin comes through and does the job really well. We also managed to Dragon Pulse the Brute Bonnet 2 times, which is great, before our friend does end up dying to a Sucker Punch. Instead, the Power Gem comes through from our big-nosed boy, and he doesn't really stand much of a chance against the Roaring Moon because this thing has Earthquake. So, to finish off this battle, we're able to get one hit off with Poliwrath, and ladies and gentlemen, we've defeated this lady, and of course, that means we've conquered all of Paldea. You guys should drop a like and check out some of our other videos if you want to see more plays like this.